I've been listening to fewer podcasts since all of this because I don't have my bus ride.
Yeah, that
Got to
makes
support
sense.
the industry.
Yeah,
We need people commuting. We need everyone doing big Toronto 2-hour commutes to work and crushing content the whole way.
Hi, you're listening to Pop-Up Podcasting. We make podcasting easy, so stick around for tips, tricks, and a behind-the-scenes look at the podcast industry. Okay, so COVID, though, how long have we been in COVID now? Someone who watches the news, tell me.
I don't know, a year and a couple months now, at least.
So as it seems optimistically like this may be wrapping up, will clients continue to do remote sessions? Like, are you getting any feedback, or like, what do you think?
I think we could see a hybrid of the two. Like, I think we could see people in studio, but maybe more openness to connecting to remote guests. I mean, and that's something we did before anyways, but I think people just with the, increased familiarity with all these like online platforms and everything like that, and people saw how easy it was to connect and everything, that I think we'll see probably maybe people in studio, like hosts, stuff like that, but not afraid to have guests on who are, located outside of the city who can't come into the studio.
I think that's the biggest point, is it opens up so many guests that you can't have otherwise. And like, that's a really big deal. You have a specialty. If you're doing a podcast on medicine and there's like someone who's really, really good at what they do in Texas, well, you want them on your show regardless. And this just really allows you to book really fantastic guests and not have to worry about travel plans and everything like that. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And especially like Will said, people are getting more familiar with the software, with the different ways to connect with people online. I don't see it going anywhere. I think it definitely will be more and more a hybrid of the two. And eventually I think it might skew a little bit more towards online.
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think as we leave the COVID era, hopefully, knock on wood. Knocking on wood is a great sound on a podcast, I know.
Yes.
But as we leave COVID behind us, I don't think anybody quite knows what the world's going to look like after this. But I can say, as far as like the client inquiries we get and things like that, especially like maybe the first few months, we said, okay, we closed the studio for 3 months right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And we had never really done a fully remote session before that. So it was a learning curve for us. And we had certain clients that dropped off and said, okay, well, if I can't do it in the studio, I'm not going to do it. Forget it. Some of those people have come back since then because COVID has dragged on a long time, longer than anybody thought. I think some of those clients thought they could take a 3-week break from recording in studio and come back, and it turned out that wasn't the case. So yeah, but for the most part, we haven't had clients chomping at the bit over the last year and a bit to come into the studio. There are a few that say, no, I only want to do it if I'm in the studio. And, to Richard's point about getting a variety of guests, Richard and Will's points about that, we had clients that only recorded with guests in Ottawa, where we're located, right? Only if a guest could come into the studio would they be on the show. I think that's gone. I think all of those clients that had that as a rule have, switched over to doing remote guests. So yeah, I think I always like to prioritize. I think it's what we're familiar with, prioritize host sound quality. So I think as things open up again, we'll go back to that of like having hosts in the studio and maybe remote guests. But I think the fully remote sessions are here to stay. And it's been pretty neat for our business to take on clients in, Toronto and Boston and, other places in the country.
I think a few really important things were said in the past 10 minutes. And one of the first things was, JP, you said something about audio quality. I think that's huge. And you mentioned the host audio quality. What I'm definitely noticing now is people that you wouldn't expect to have a microphone now have a microphone because they have to do government conferences with their coworkers. They have to talk to their bosses on Zoom. So a lot of them invest in little mics. That goes a long way for remote recording because now the gap between studio quality and at-home quality isn't as great as it was before COVID, just because people are investing in little microphone setups. So that goes a long way to help the remote businesses. And then also, Lisa, you said something. You were referring to us, I think, as a company. There are more of us now, and that's true. But there are also more people that are making podcasts now, just because people can't leave their house. And that leads to more business, and that leads to more opportunities, and that leads to just the industry right now is exploding. And I think there's a huge wave of new people coming into it. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I think there's room for both in studio and remote work just because of that.
And what about us as employees working from home? Like, I don't know about you guys, but my kids, I have 2 kids, they've been home schooling all year. And so as a result, for me, working from home has been amazing. Like, I've been able to kind of structure my things around my kids a little bit. So if I have a session during the day, I can do that. And then maybe, for the rest of the day, I might kind of check my email off and on and then save my editing for the evening once it's more quiet and I have more time. Have you guys found any kind of benefits, or what are your feelings about working from home in general?
In general, I'm a pretty big loner. So I love it. I've been working from home my entire life. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to podcasting. I've been working from home my entire life. I run a music studio here. So I've always run my own studio. So I'm kind of used to it. And I love the fact that I don't have to deal with a commute and using public transportation and anything like that. I mean, that was terrible. But at the same time, now that I work with a company that has a studio, I'm a big in studio guy. I just like the dynamic of being able to see the people that are working for the host and the guests to actually interact and see each other. I think it makes the episodes so much better. So I'm a big in-studio guy, so I'm kind of I'm itching to get back in studio and working with people, but at the same time, I like staying at home.
And that's another option too, is if we eventually had a bigger studio and we could have the option, I guess, of doing remote sessions at the studio around each other. So you have that, person to ask a question to quickly, and you have that support and, but then versus you could also be at home once in a while too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably the hybrid that we're headed towards. I mean, it's interesting because other than me, Lisa, you have the most time in the studio, and Will did his short-lived internship, which was cut short by COVID, in the studio partly, and Richard is a new hire who has never been in the studio ever. So
yeah, I'm the new one.
It's weird times.
Yeah, I think it's. There's positives and there's negatives, right? I miss the, collaboration, and just when we have the benefit of, well, at least from my perspective, I work with people that I like. So it makes it, it's kind of fun to go to work and do those things. So I definitely miss that aspect of it. And if you're in a situation where maybe that isn't the case, then working from home maybe is a bit of a reprieve in that sense. But yeah, no, I like going in and collaborating and doing those things. So you miss that. I like a bit of separation between home life and work as well too. It's one of those things. When it's working great and it's convenient for you, then it's oh, this is perfect. But then, I think I would like the hybrid model where I have the option to, if I just have some editing to do or whatever, you have the more flexibility to do it at home. But I still like the experience of going in and all of those things. And I mean, call me crazy, but I like the commute and all of those things as well too. So I don't dread doing those parts of commuting and going to work and everything. So yeah, I'll be happy when we can be back in a shared space for sure.
Do you take public transportation or do you drive?
When it's bad weather, I will take the bus and the train, and when it's good weather, I bike.
Okay. Well then, yeah, I'm going to call you crazy.
I like it though. I don't know. I read when I'm on the bus.
No, I get it.
That's nice quiet time for me.
I've been listening to fewer podcasts since all of this because I don't have my bus ride.
Yeah, that
Gotta
makes
support
sense.
the industry.
Yeah.
We need people commuting.
There you go.
We need everyone doing big Toronto 2-hour commutes to work and crushing content.
That is
the
when I
whole way.
consumed most of my content. I would
Yeah.
just hop on the bus and listen to a bunch of stuff. So that is true.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to switch back to, like, if, you know, JP, you were like, we got to go back 100% in person. Like, it's the only way to make it work. We'd all kind of be looking sideways like, well, you know, what have we been doing the last year? You know, we've been making it work remote. So that's sort of to your point, Richard. It's hard to say everyone's got to go back in 100% unless you had some massive dip in productivity or whatever metric you're looking at. But it's hard because so many places did that, everyone's favorite word, pivot, and it worked, at least in some settings. So yeah, I think that's why the hybrid, because you can keep those things that worked and then, you know, sprinkle in some of those old elements that you were missing from the distancing measures.
Thanks for checking out Pop-Up Podcasting, podcasting made easy. If you're interested in learning more about podcasting or starting your own podcast, you can find us at popuppodcasting.ca, where you can download our free guide, Podcasting at Work.